My 24 hour has a turbidity reading of 8, and then my 48, I gave it a turbidity reading of 10, and that's just because it's, it's very cloudy. So that's what I went with for that. And again, I've shown you them, so you can change that if you feel necessary. But again, these are all just kind of relative, right? So when I load this in here, so the cuvette actually has, and I don't know if you'll be able to see this. Maybe if I turn it towards the light, that's not really working. You might be able to see it there. So there's a little arrow here. And so that arrow is telling you the read direction. So which direction you want to face towards the light, because there's actually a light that will shoot through this. And so it's actually the thinner portion. So you see that there's a wider and a thinner. So you're gonna go with the thinner side. And you only need a milliliter in these. You don't have to have them full because it's only reading down here, right? So I'm gonna load it into here. And I don't know if you guys saw that when I was filming, but that's what our loader looks like. And we actually have rotating ones too for this machine. I know, fancy, right? That you can load multiple in and it'll actually rotate and do readings as you go. So I'm gonna load that blank in there, and then I'm gonna go ahead and hit the button on here that says blank, and I'm gonna move you guys again. So again, it may not be focusing that well, but the blank button is down here, so I'm gonna hit blank. And that's just gonna blank it. And so that's it for that. I'm gonna set you down. That way I can take this one out. So I'm gonna save this blank because we're gonna use it later as well. And so now I'm gonna go with my 0 hour. So again, this is 0 hour. It's nutrient broth that's been inoculated, literally just inoculated with E. coli. And so we're gonna go ahead and run that. And what's nice about this is I can name each individual sample. Sorry I didn't warn you, I was moving you there. So I'm gonna go to the sample, which is kind of hard with gloves on. And so I'm gonna call this 0 hours. We'll go ahead and abbreviate hour. And that's it. So let's set you down and go ahead and run it. Hit done, hit measure. And so it's gonna give me a readout at 0 hours. And so that readout was 0.026 absorbance. And so that absorbance reading, absorbance readings don't really have units. You may have learned that in chemistry. So don't worry about units for this. Just, that's what we're going with. The absorbance at 600 is, what we're calling this. And what's kind of cool with this, I'm gonna move you up here again. What's kind of cool with this is you see, so there's 2 columns there. And again, it's not really focusing very well. But so you have an absorbance at 600, and then you have a cells per milliliter, and that can be changed based on your cell size. There's a bunch of calculations that will go into that. But what's kind of cool is it's telling you, that's the absorbance is a direct relation to the approximate number of cells per milliliter that you'd be looking at here, and it's actually at 10 to the 8th. So again, that's a little beyond what we're going with here, but if you were actually working on a project with this, that's really nice to have that ability to have it do those calculations. So we ran the 0 hour, so we'll go ahead and pull it out. I'm just gonna put it back here in my cuvette rack. I'll face it that way so I can see the label. And then we're on our 4 hour, right? So I got that here. And again, turbidity is not related to color. So we looked at them, there was a little bit of different coloration, whatever. That's not what we're looking at. Turbidity is really cloudiness. So if I was looking at, a water sample from a lake and there's a bunch of dissolved sediments or something in that water sample, gets cloudy, that would be the turbidity. And so I loaded in the 4 hour. We're gonna go ahead and I wonder if I can do this a quicker way. Oh. Bear with me here. It's kind of hard doing this with gloves on. Let's just go ahead and do it like this. Okay, so 4 hours. Done. And then we're going to measure. It's that easy. And so what we got here is a 0.083 reading. And again, I'm going to be sending you this data. So, while I recommend, looking at the turbidities and writing them down, I'm kind of giving you what I have also. So that's that for the 4 hour. And so now let's move on to the 8 hour. Go ahead and load it in there. Change our name. 8 hours. Done. And so what it does here, and you might see that when I send you the data, is it says 0 hour 1, 4 hour 1. Just in case you wanted to run multiple. So I do that a lot, especially when I'm working on research, is I'll run things multiple times, and like 3 or 4, and then come up with an average, because there could be a little bit of light getting in through here. We would hope not, but it might be. If you're working with motile cells, they could be moving. One could move into the light source and then move out of the light source. So again, we hope that that's not happening, but it's always good to statistically validate what you're working on, right? So the more readings you take, the better your average is going to be, the more accurate it is to what is actually there, right? So 8 hours. So we're at 0.187 on the absorbance reading, so we're going up. So we're going to pull the 8 hour out and load the 12. And we'll measure that. So we're at 0.376 for, I forgot to rename it. So what I'll do here, I'll go to the 8 hour, and I can actually, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to delete it, because I'm sure it's going to be the same. So, forgot to rename, so we're going to go ahead and do that now. So I deleted that last reading. So 12 hour, and we were at 0.378, which is, I believe, right around where we were at last time. So we'll go with that one, and that's what I'm going to send you. So 0.378 for the 12 hour. Now we're going to run the 24, which is pretty cloudy. See where that's at. And I'll remember to rename it this time. So 24 hours. Done. Measure. 0.506 is what we're getting on that one. 0.506 for 24 hours. And now let's go with 48, the cloudiest